evening. I'm Army Sergeant Hank Minitrez. This is AFN's Newsline. At least 5 Afghan fighters are dead after a battle with U.S.-led forces in eastern Afghanistan. The U.S. military says about 20 attackers opened fire on a U.S. Special Forces convoy yesterday from ridges overlooking a road between Gardez and Khost. The Americans weren't hurt, and they called in U.S. fighter jets for backup. The warplanes fired hundreds of rounds of ammunition and dropped 2 500-pound bombs on suspected enemy positions. The battle lasted several hours. The AP says 2 of the attackers were captured and are being interrogated. Well, one of the most significant effects of the war on terrorism has been the United States itself. That's according to the European Command's Deputy Commander, General Charles Wald. He says war with Iraq, if it happens, will see the military deployed inside the United States for the first time to protect citizens. In Germany, General Wald says we're getting a lot of help from the host nation.
The Germans have helped us significantly here in Germany, and even though there's the political controversy swirling that we all read about day in and day out as far as their support for Iraq, the Germans, from the standpoint of supporting our forces in Germany, have been fantastic. They provide 2,500 soldiers every day to our facilities, man those up. If the threat goes up or the situation changes, they've committed to even more of their soldiers at our facilities, protecting our assets and families. The German federal police are now actively involved in facilities that aren't necessarily inside the fence, protecting our people. They have committed to that. I think that's a tremendous commitment.
That's EUCOM Deputy Commander General Charles Wald. For more information on the story, log on to our website. That's afneurope.net. As U.S. troops continue to ready themselves for potential combat in the Persian Gulf, there are many things to take into consideration: weather, possible chemical environments, and dealing with the local culture. One issue that's been around since the 1991 Gulf War is how female soldiers dress in order to adapt to a different belief system. Army Sergeant Beth Kavayas reports via telephone from Kuwait.
Soldiers of the 12th Aviation Brigade live and work in a different environment than most Americans deployed to Kuwait. They're sharing a base with forces from the United Arab Emirates. In consideration for the other culture, the American women are making subtle changes to the way they live and work. Females don't walk around in their T-shirts and always wear the full PT uniform. They do this to avoid exposing their skin. UAE soldiers aren't used to seeing women in uniforms. Culture calls for women to completely cover themselves. The women here consider covering up a small compromise to make in the interest of international partnership. Army Sergeant Beth Kavayas, AFN News.
Department of Defense Educational Activities Director Dr. Joe Tafoya visited Germany's Kaiserslautern military community. One of the top issues on his agenda was to discover how recent deployments are affecting school children.
As part of his job as DODEA director, Dr. Joe Tafoya visits each and every one of the 225 Department of Defense dependent schools around the world. And when he visits each and every school, he visits each and every classroom.
One of the pleasures that I have as being in charge of this system is that I don't have bad schools. Even our schools that would, quote, be at the bottom half are still pretty good schools. And so it's a lot easier to be in charge of something where we've already got a good record. We already have good student achievement. On national tests, we're always either number 1 or number 2. Doesn't mean we can't get better. Doesn't mean we shouldn't get better, try different things. But it's gratifying to go to a place where you're not constantly trying to fix something.
During his most recent visit to Germany, Tafoya met with DOD's Europe superintendents to talk about readiness during the massive deployments of U.S. forces.
You need to look out after one another. You need to understand, have a little bit extra sensitiveness to people as during this particular time that with the uncertainty that's facing us.
Tafoya also took time to discuss this year's DOD's theme, DODEA Reads. He encourages parents to become deeply involved with their children's growth and development.
I know because of the deployments and other job stresses, maybe they can't get to the school as much as possible, but it's so important every night to read to your child or to provide a space for your child to read and to encourage your kid to ask your child what books are you reading. As we all know, the ability to read, not only for pleasure, but for technical kinds of things, is the greatest skill we can have. If a kid can't read, they're going to have trouble.
Reporting from Simbach, Germany, Specialist Emily Adams, AFN News.
And that's AFN's Newsline. I'm Army Sergeant Hank Minitrez. Have a great night.